I live in Los Angeles, Koreatown to be specific. And I think, though many people would consider where I live to be objectively ugly, that it's one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. Why is that? How can that be?
How can trash lying on the side of the road be beautiful?
To be honest, I wasn't sure how to answer that question, so I decided to grab a camera, document my neighborhood, and try to pinpoint what exactly makes this place so pleasing to look at for me. Now that I've done that, I want to tell you how you can find the same visual qualities and document them so you can show the world what's beautiful about where you are, wherever you are, as well. Now, I've boiled down the way to make ugly things beautiful into 3 primary ideas, starting with perspective. Now, when I say perspective, I'm kind of using that term as a catch-all for a number of filmmaking and camera operating techniques. Things like framing and movement and depth. If you prioritize getting the right perspective for your subject, the eye can't help but be pleased by it, even if the subject itself isn't very attractive to look at. Here are some examples of what I'm talking about. This is a shot of trash on the sidewalk, and it looks exactly like that. There is nothing interesting about this trash because I did not frame it to be interesting. Now take a look at this other shot of trash on the sidewalk. At first, it feels the same. Just some unwanted pieces of nothing that someone couldn't even be bothered to throw into the trash can. But let's modify how we look at it. First, I added movement. It turns these plain static boards into leading lines. And if I follow those leading lines, it leads me up to a box at the top. And I could just shoot the box, or I can add some more movement. And now my perspective is revealing what is inside the box. As I was editing this video, I had this idea that kind of kept sticking out to me. It was the idea of framing my subject not just as a subject, but as a character, even if it's an inanimate object. This is a pile of garbage. This is someone we had to wait to meet. He's a guy at the end of an episode that serves as a cliffhanger for the next one. Hopefully that metaphor doesn't sound too pretentious, but I think you know what I mean. Next, let's talk about juxtaposition. Juxtaposition can mean a lot of different things depending on the location in which you're shooting. But one aspect remains the same regardless of the situation. There will be one thing in the shot that looks interesting next to whatever else is in the shot. This could be a juxtaposition of the natural world and the industrial world, like these pigeons sitting in a parking garage rather than on a tree, or these cigarettes laying in the dirt instead of in somebody's pocket. This could also mean something, with more nuance and deeper context. For example, I found this vacant lot that clearly has been trespassed into a lot of times given the amount of graffiti in it. I also found this sign on the gate that keeps everyone out of the vacant lot, saying that anyone trespassing would be met with an armed response. And finally, the juxtaposition can be cultural as well. I filmed all of these shots not long after the ICE raids and subsequent protests here in LA. I saw numerous signs and flyers with resources and calls to action all over the community. And one of the most interesting juxtapositions that I think I found was looking at these old newspaper dispensers. Specifically, when I looked at this half-empty Starbucks cup that someone just left on top of one of them. For some people, these old, broken, beaten down metal boxes were the means of spreading a message they thought was important for everybody to hear, supporting a cause that they believe in so much they plastered it all over the city. And for someone else, it was just a trash can. I can admit that it's understated, but I think that tells a pretty interesting story. Which leads me to the last and most important part of making the ugly things in the world pretty: story. None of what I've said so far means anything if your shots don't have a good story. The real reason that this shot of discarded food looks better than this shot of discarded food is that this one makes you ask a question. How did that get there? Why would someone take a box filled to the brim with kettle chips and just leave it on the sidewalk? I already know why someone would just throw away their Wingstop trash on the sidewalk, but not why someone would do whatever out of the ordinary task they would have to do to come into possession of a box filled to the brim with kettle chips, just to leave them on the ground. This shot of a Slurpee cup amongst the grass and the weeds could just be another shot. It's just another example of littering. But when you see it engulfed in the plants that surround it, it becomes a much stronger example of what littering even is and why it's a problem in the first place. And thus, it becomes more interesting because it tells a story. This graffiti tells the story of a real human being who wanted to spread a message they thought was very important to a bunch of other human beings that they don't even know, because they thought that message was important and they thought that every type of person deserved to hear it and needed to hear it. If you look hard enough, everything tells a story and everything can be cinematic. I think I live in a beautiful place filled with diverse groups of people and buildings and businesses that have character, and also a shocking amount of beautiful trees and plants as well. But I never would have known that if I hadn't taken the time to just go walking around to see it with my own eyes. I lived in Spokane, Washington for a little while, which is like in eastern Washington. It's closer to Idaho than it is to Seattle. What makes that place cool is that it's like big sky country, which is much different than what I think makes Koreatown, where I live now, cool. But they're both cool. I never would have thought that deserts were beautiful. I thought they were just flat land with nothing going on. But then the Killers dropped Imploding the Mirage, and I just saw the cover art for that album, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. I didn't have to travel very far to find a beautiful place to shoot, because every place has something that makes it interesting and beautiful. I hope, if nothing else, this video encourages you to go out into your town or neighborhood or city and find the thing about it that makes it cool, and you realize that too. Fellas, it was good to see ya, and say something nice to the ladies on the way out.
Hi everybody, it's Ernie Sabella, the voice of Pumbaa from The Lion King. And I'm telling you to like this video and subscribe to Carny's YouTube channel. That's Carny's YouTube channel.